is a special summer session of CNN 10, 1 week from the official start of the season itself. I'm Carl Azus. We'll be producing a series of shows to keep you up to speed on events taking place around the world. That starts today with an objective overview of civil unrest in America. For weeks, there have been protests, marches, and calls for changes. They've followed the deaths of several African-American civilians and controversial encounters with or investigations by police. One major catalyst for the protests was the death of George Floyd. He was a 46-year-old African-American man who lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he died after a white police officer knelt on Floyd's neck during his arrest for allegedly using counterfeit money to buy cigarettes. The officer involved has been charged with murder. In the days after Floyd's death, demonstrations flared up across the country, accusing police of excessive force and racism. Some of the protests have been peaceful, some have been violent. Civilians, city and state officials have pushed for modifications to police departments and the way officers do their jobs. And while some officials in Minneapolis and beyond have called for police departments to be defunded or abolished entirely and replaced by public safety systems run by individual communities, other leaders say the vast majority of police do their jobs right and that they're necessary, and they point to looting and property destruction in some of the protests as reasons why. There have also been a number of attacks, some of them deadly, on police officers across America. Discussions are being held nationwide about what can be done to ease all of these tensions. At the federal level, Democrats who lead the House of Representatives and Republicans who lead the Senate have been looking at ways they can pass a package of laws to address these issues. 10-second trivia. Oil crisis, rolling adjustment, and union are all the names of what? Recessions, amendments, taxes, or Wall Street rallies? These are all the names of historic recessions.
The coronavirus recession is official. The National Bureau of Economic Research is the arbiter of America's economic booms and busts. It found the nation's longest expansion ended in February and a recession began. Never before has the NBER so quickly designated the onset of a recession. Economists there note, quote, the unprecedented magnitude of the decline in employment and production. Never before has a recession been so unusual. It's not an energy shock or a natural disaster or a financial crisis. It's largely man-made. The economy was shut down on purpose to slow the spread of a deadly virus. As recessions go, it may end up being one of the deepest. The economy cratered 5% in the first quarter, with forecasts for contraction of up to 40% in Q2. And it might be short, very short. May jobs growth was the best in history. Economists noted what they call hidden hiring in the economy amid slow reopening. And their stimulus, record, epic stimulus. Nearly unlimited backstops to the credit markets from the Federal Reserve, and trillions in payments to businesses, the unemployed, and consumers from Congress.
The fact that it was man-made is what made it so hard to predict. Economists had expected that America would have seen 8 million jobs lost in the month of May, and they thought the unemployment rate, the percentage of American workers who didn't have a job, would rise to around 20%. But the report that came out earlier this month showed that the economy added 2.5 million jobs and that unemployment decreased from 14.7% to 13.3%. So good news there. There's still a lot of uncertainty about the economy, just like there is about the coronavirus itself. The disease is still spreading, though at different rates in different places. The U.S. is still the country with the most confirmed cases, with more than 2 million of them, and more than 115,000 deaths blamed on COVID-19. There are still concerns about a possible second wave of the disease, but stores are reopening again. Americans are starting to travel again, and the efforts of heroes continue to help those in need.
Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up.
As food banks across the country are struggling to keep up with the increasing number of people needing food while also facing supply and volunteer shortages, these CNN heroes are mobilizing to try and make sure those in need don't go hungry.
We can do the pepper, a tablespoon.
Catherine Couch is the founder of Ceres Community Project, an organization that engages youth volunteers to cook and deliver healthy meals to people facing cancer and other serious illnesses in Northern California. As the pandemic broke, it became clear that people with underlying medical conditions were most at risk. and Couch knew her work was more crucial than ever.
The clients we serve are very medically fragile, vulnerable, primarily low-income people, many of them living alone. And many of them have lost caregivers because of the pandemic. That population has the potential for the most complications and mortality if they get the illness. So it's really, really important that this population stays home and stays safe.
I have serious food delivery.
And also, we've been asked to serve people who are quarantining either with COVID or because they've been exposed.
So she's expanded to help more people, doubling the number of meals she provides.
Medically tailored meals are specifically tailored to the nutrient requirements of the client's illness. We are committed to 100% organic and sourcing as many things locally as we can. Our caring for one another is one of the most important things that we can do. That can go a long way right now to helping us get through this time.
Welcome to Cafe Momentum. We have created our makeshift assembly line.
CNN hero Chad Hauser has quickly reorganized his program to feed students left without food when schools were closed. CNN honored Chad for his Cafe Momentum, a nonprofit restaurant in downtown Dallas that provides employment, educational support, and career counseling to young people coming out of juvenile detention facilities.
Today we're making meal kits for people that are in need of food.
Amid the pandemic, he's temporarily closed the restaurant, and with the help of his program participants, he's turned the space into an emergency food distribution center.
We start with canned goods. We get to shelf-stable fresh produce, sweet potatoes, new potatoes, zucchini, squash. We refocused the mission really by listening to the community, and we received a lot of calls from folks asking for help in specifically feeding food insecure students that were dependent upon school meals for their basic nutritional needs, and we're no longer going to be able to be afforded that opportunity because schools were closing, not just for spring break, but being suspended indefinitely amidst the pandemic.
Stay safe, okay?
We had a competition yesterday to see who could build 25 boxes the fastest. Who won, me or you? You did?
The young men and young women that we serve are doing a tremendous job stepping up to the plate during this time of crisis. So many of these young men and young women have gone to the schools that the meals are going to. They've lived in the neighborhoods that the meals are going to. It's a full circle opportunity for them.
An opportunity that ultimately furthers the mission.
How does it feel to be making all these food boxes?
It feels good. Feed people. It makes me feel like I'm actually a part of something, like I'm actually helping the community.
It brings me back to Cafe, you know, and I get to see a lot of the old chefs.
I was once on the other end, like where I needed food and everything to survive, so I just feel good that I'm able to now help people that need the help.
Anything else you want to say?
Hello, everybody.
For 10 out of 10 today, how do you beat a video of a giant anteater with a video of two giant anteaters? These animals are twins, one boy, one girl. They're the first to be artificially bred at a zoo in China. Bad news for ants, good news for the anteaters, who are considered to be a vulnerable species. They were placed onto their mother's back, where they typically hang out for a year while learning to hunt insects. They're also known as ant bears, though ants can't bear to be around them. The mammals have an insectivorous appetite, so if ants think they can get away, they're aardvarking up the wrong tree, y'all. I'm Carl Azus, and that is CNN 10.